Rockville. This is Mr. Hibbert, your school librarian, and today I'm going to help you prepare for Mr. Goldberg's History Internal Assessment by showing you some of the digital resources that you have available. You all know by now that our library is closed along with the rest of the schools, so you won't be able to get your hand on books from our library, but there are some digital resources that will be very helpful. So we're going to start here with the first one under digital resources. This is a link to a spreadsheet of databases that every teacher has received, and you soon will receive it. In fact, maybe Mr. Goldberg has already shared this with you. I'm not sure yet. And we're going to come down to one in particular that I think you will find very helpful. Now, what you see in yellow throughout this list are the databases that I think will be very helpful on this assessment. So let's start right here with Academic Search Complete. Now we're going to go back here for a second. Notice right next to the URL is the login information. Rockville Rams is your user ID. Your password is RHS-20. Okay, so we clicked on the link. We ended up over here. Now it auto-populated for me because I'm here a lot. You'll have to type it in the first time and sign in. One of the things I like about this database is that it's a very clean homepage. There's not a lot of things that junk up. So you know at the right spot. You're at the right spot because it says Rockville Senior High School. Okay, and this is your search bar. Okay, so we're going to come back to this in a few minutes. But this is where you'll spend a lot of your time for any academic research, but especially for this History IA. And now I want to show you other alternatives for your IA, for your research purposes. Let's go back to the Mr. Goldberg document that I highlighted at the beginning. Let's scroll down a little bit. Next, we'll look at ebooks. Okay, now we have ebooks from two big publishers. One is Gale Publishers, the other is Salem Press. We'll take a look at each and see how they can help you with this IA. So let's go to Gale. And one of the things you'll notice here at the top is this is a page made especially for Rockville High School by the publisher. Here are all the titles that you have access to. You don't want to look through all of them to see what can help you on this IA, so my suggestion is that you come here to History. Okay, and that reduces your number. Now, you're doing a History IA, or you're completing a History IA on roughly the World Wars in that time period, a little bit before, a little bit after. So you want to look at these book titles and see what matches. So obviously, let's see, unless your question deals with film, you won't really need to look at a companion to historical film. Okay, what is this one here? This one is African American Culture and History. It might be appropriate if you're looking at, for example, the role of African Americans in World War II. This might be a resource for you to take a look at. The Encyclopedia of Modern Asia, probably not. Okay, but look at this one next to it. Encyclopedia of Media and Propaganda in Wartime America. That might be close or might be helpful for your topic. Okay, now let's scroll down to what I consider the main resource here. There's a terrific series called History in Dispute. You see that title as it popped up here, History in Dispute. What it does is it takes topics, very significant events in history, and it gives different perspectives on the event. So what you're doing, your IA, you're arguing for a point. And anytime you make an argument, if you're constructing a good argument, you have to acknowledge the other side of the argument. So if you're arguing in support of a position, you do have to acknowledge what people on the other side would say, and then you kind of argue against it. So let's find an example that we can take a look at here that makes sense for what we're looking at now. Let's go down a little more. This one here. So this is volume 5 for History in Dispute. It says here that this volume covers World War II in the years 1944 and 45, and it offers different critical perspectives on major historical events such as the Axis powers, D-Day invasion, chemical warfare, the atomic bomb, and so on. So let's open this. All right. So what you see at the top here, this paragraph is pretty much a summary of what is in this volume. Okay, we already told you. Scroll down, table of contents is highlighted. So let's come down here. Now, one of the reasons why I like History and Dispute is that its table of contents are written as entries in the table of content are written as questions. So it kind of mirrors or mimics your research question. Okay, so let's take a look here. Here's your first one. Was Allied air power decisive in World War II? Okay, so there's this argument who had the better air power, the Germans or the Allied power. That's what this article covers. Let's scroll down here. Here's one that stands out. Auschwitz. Should the Allies have bombed the railroad facilities and crematoriums at Auschwitz and other death camps? Let's open this entry in this volume. So what you see here at the top, here's your title. Below here on the left are the authors. Here is the title of the series. You already said it's History and Dispute. This is volume 5. Here's the publisher. This is a 6-page article. Okay. Now we'll scroll down a little more. Left to right, translate. If English is not your first language, if you click on translate, you can translate this article into many different languages. Okay. I like this here, font size. Here's a larger font size. If you spend a lot of time in front of the screen, which we all are now, a bigger font size may make it easier on your eyes. Here is what we call the read to feature. You can have this read to you.
Auschwitz. Okay. Should the Allies have bombed the railroad facilities and crematoriums at Auschwitz and other death camps? Auschwitz. Should the Allies...
Okay, there we are. That's the sound. Some people like it, some people don't. Some people need it, some people don't. But it's there for you. Right here is Google Drive. Now, let's spend some time here. You're going to be using a lot of different sources. I'm sure Mr. Goldberg has given you a minimum number of sources or a required number of sources. One way that people conduct research is they go through and they find a series of articles, save them, and then they go back and look at each one in detail. That's where your annotation will come in. So what I would do is click on the Google Drive, save it to your drive, but make sure that you have created a folder, and I would name it Mr. Goldberg History IA. So you're not just dumping it into your main Google Drive, you're dumping it into a subfolder. Okay, that's my suggestion there. This allows you to email to someone. Okay, if you want to do that, download it to your computer, your hard drive, and then this last one is printing. Now, a lot of us don't have printers at home, so it doesn't make any sense to click that button. Even if you do have a printer, it's expensive. You may not want to print everything that you find. What I find is I'll gather a bunch of articles, and then maybe 10% of them are the ones that I use. I'll print those after reviewing them online, and then I can start annotating, highlighting, making notes, and so forth. An alternative is to go to the Montgomery County Public Library and print the article from there. Okay. And then lastly, on your right, related articles. Now, right below here, article contents. Remember we said at the beginning, there are viewpoints for and against. These are sample articles. This one supports the question. This one will argue against the question. Okay. Then here is the rest of the article. Now, lastly, before we move on to another database, right up here, citation. All academic research requires students to annotate. Whether you are in high school, college, or a professional, you'll have to provide your sources. And we provide sources for 2 reasons. First, the reader of your research may want to access the research you use to get a better understanding of the topic and how you argued it. Secondly, readers want to know that you used valued information in order to come to your conclusion as you make your argument. Okay, so make sure that you check with Mr. Goldberg about the citation style he wants you to use. It will be either APA or Chicago. All right, so let's go back. We're going to close this tab and come back here to the Mr. Goldberg document. Let's take a look at the sale and press list of sources for you, or resources, excuse me. Now, I don't know if you can tell it up here. This link is made especially for Rockville High School. I had that done for you, so you don't have to worry about passwords. Okay, so let's scroll down. I have literature, history, science, and health. Okay, we're here in history. So again, some of these will matter or be pertinent to your IA, some will not. So let's come down here. Decades, that's another series. Here's a second series, defining documents, and that's where we're going to stay. Defining documents provides original sources, primary source material for you, okay, to analyze. And it's terrific when you do your research to rely on primary sources, not someone's interpretation. Okay, so let's go here into defining documents, and we're going to look for something that meets our topic that we're using as our example about should the Allies have bombed railroad lines going into the concentration camps. Let's see. The lead up to war, Roosevelt's speech recommending revision of the neutrality law. There's something on Pearl Harbor, the Domestic Aliens Act, executive order. We're not seeing anything that's on our topic, our example topic, but I do want to show you an example. So let's come up here. An act to repeal the Chinese exclusion acts. Just so you can get an idea of what the entries look like. So here's the title, here's its author. Here's a summary. Another word for summary is an abstract. They're very convenient. It might save you some time. It puts this into context of World War II. Why is this a defining moment? This is very helpful because it will provide you with background information, some context for you to understand better how this may or maybe may not fit with your IA. And then we'll scroll down. This is the biography of the author who wrote this piece of this primary source. And here is the document itself. Okay. Here is the publisher's analysis or their interpretation of the argument or the primary source, excuse me. Okay. And then themes, and this is here's some additional reading. Here are your citations, so MLA, APA, and Chicago. It's a simple highlight, copy, paste. Okay. Let's scroll to the top. On the left here is your citation, which will bring you to the bottom of the article that we just saw. You can print it if you want to. Email it to someone. Here is the Google Drive thing. So we're going to live in Google Drive. It's smart. It's convenient. Again, you should have a folder called Mr. Goldberg History IA, and you'll dump your things in there. Being organized to help you save time. Okay, we're going to come back to this time-saving argument near the end of this webinar. All right, that's sale and press. Let's go back and see what we have next. Now, you may also use our card catalog. Okay, we define things. So what you're asking is, other than sale and press and other than the Gale publisher, is there any other ebook that can help me with my IA? This will help you find it. So we'll click on this link to our card catalog here. Let's go to books. Let's scroll down. I'll show you a couple things here. We're going to click on this here link in a second, but this Montgomery County Public Library link is important as well. And we'll come back to it in a few minutes, but they have a lot of resources that we at Rockville High School don't have. So you're just adding to the number of resources available to you for this IA. So let's see what kind of ebooks we have. So let's click here. Now what you'll see here is a very good exercise on using search terms and key search terms. So I'm going to come up here, And remember, we're searching for the Allied bombing of Auschwitz and other concentration camps. So we'll say Allied bombing of Auschwitz. Okay. Now, a clue as to this might be a difficult search is look what's auto-populating. Bowling alley bandit. No idea. Okay. So let's come over here to search options. And the type of search is keyword. Okay, so using this, you don't want title, author, or anything like that. Let's come up here and click keyword. Format, you want ebook. Okay, and click search. So it's search for its Allied bombing of Auschwitz. One result, volume 5, history and dispute. So it's the same thing that we just showed you. Okay. Now, what other things it does provide for you, here are other volumes that deal with World War II. 4. Okay, actually, it's just 1, 4. Okay, so there you said. So, yes, we didn't come up with anything additional, but at least you know that you've covered most of your bases. So let's close this. And let's go back to the first document. All right, one of our last places here is the Montgomery County Public Library. If you don't yet have a digital library card, please get it soon, right away. You can get it immediately. It takes you 2 minutes. Anybody in the IB program or anybody taking AP courses where there's research involved, you should have a Montgomery County Public Library card. Okay, so if you don't have one, here's how you get it. We clicked on number 2. Here's the Montgomery County Public Library page. And right here, get a digital library card now. Okay, now is pretty fast. Let's close this window. So if once we get our public library card, okay, we'll go back in, we'll click here, and I've bookmarked the page of the Montgomery County Public Library database section that deals with history. Okay, so these history and context databases we have, okay, we have the US one, we don't have the world one. And then Gale Virtual Reference Library is one you'll use, and History Reference Center. So I would stay here. Now, this may have caught your eye, World Book Online Encyclopedia. For History IA, you wouldn't use an encyclopedia to cite anything. An encyclopedia gives you just basic factual information. However, if you want to educate yourself and learn more about the topic, you can go to encyclopedia just to get basic factual information, but you wouldn't cite it in your IA. Use it or cite it. All right, so let's go back to, we said we're going to spend some time with one specific database, and we said it was this one here, the Academic Search Complete. And just as a quick review, not to confuse you, but as a quick review, we got there by looking at this entry on the database sheet, and highlighted in yellow was right there. Then we clicked on this URL. Here's our user ID and our password. And then we ended up here. Okay, so now we're going to use that same search phrase, okay, or series of search terms that we used before, and we'll see what it comes up with for us. Allied bombing of HWIC and other concentration camps. Okay, search. $1,048. Okay, that's a lot. We don't really have time to search through 1,048. So we're going to limit. Okay, so one of the terms that librarians use is limiters. What are the conditions you put on your search? Okay, so the first one we'll do is right here, limit the full text. Databases will give you results that contain either the full text of the article, meaning the whole article, beginning to end, or an abstract, which is a summary of the article. Most times, or most often, abstracts are not that useful. That's why we want to check full text. Let's see what happens to our number. Remember, we started at 1,048. Now we're down to 487, so we got rid of almost 900. That's good. but 900 is still a lot. So let's come down here. We're going to check another box. Right here, this third box, scholarly or peer-reviewed journal. A peer-reviewed journal means someone conducted research and wrote an article very similar to a research paper. But what they did at the end was they submitted it to a committee of experts on that topic. And then they went through and verified the information. Did you use accurate information? Only with their stamp of approval can it be called a peer-reviewed article. So let's check that. We are at 487. Now we're down to 166. So now a quick sidebar about using peer-reviewed journals. We'll talk about Google at the end, but Google is a fantastically powerful search engine. However, it does not verify the information it provides. So using these search terms we see up here, if we'll copy and paste this into Google soon. And when we do, we'll see a result that's a lot higher than our initial 1,000 and change that we got here. We don't have the time to search through it. Okay. And we're not sure whether these databases, or not databases, whether the information on Google is accurate. We'll talk more about that later. All right, so let's look at our results. David Wyman in the controversy over the bombing of Auschwitz. Right here, right below the author's name and the publication information is a sentence, kind of a mini summary. This focuses on the reasons behind the failure to bomb the concentration camps of the Nazis in Auschwitz, Birkenau, and Poland, and others. Okay, so you would say, sure. Okay, let's see what this looks like. So you click on full text, and what you'll see here. Okay, we'll show you some of the features. Here's the article. Quick scroll and scroll back up. You can save this to your Google Drive. You can print it. Down here, cite is very important. Again, you'll use either APA or Chicago. Talk to Mr. Goldberg. It doesn't get much easier than this because you click on the cite button and it gives you all the different formats. So here's APA. So you would just highlight, copy, and paste it. Okay, here's Chicago, Turabian, and Chicago Turabian Humanities. Okay, you'll talk to Mr. Goldberg about which he prefers. Okay, let's get rid of that. Same feature. If you want to listen to it, that's fine. Okay, and here we go all the way down, and there is your article. Okay, so let's talk about Google for a second. So we're going to open up a new screen here, and we're going to take this search phrase. Nope, I have to go back and do it first. Let's go back here, and we're going to highlight, copy, come over to Google and paste it. Now remember, we started with a little over 1,000 results in the database. And we know in the database, all the articles it results in are verified documents. Everything is true. Let's see what Google gives us, because Google is easy. We love it. 775,000. That's a lot. Okay, now, let's say your paper was focusing just on the bombing potential, with the option to bomb just Auschwitz, not all of them. So watch what happens when we take away these 4 words and other concentration camps. Oop, hello. I hit the wrong key. That's okay. And we hit enter. Okay, 294,000. Fewer, still a lot. Okay, and again, we're not sure if the information is accurate. The best example I can give you today is that years ago, not too long ago, but years ago, many students, and they still do today, but students were doing research on Martin Luther King, and many students around the world use the website martinlutherking.org, O-R-G. Org means organization. And people used it for years and years and years. It was was not realized till later, however, that the website was run by a white supremacist organization, which littered the website with inaccurate and racist information. Now, the website has since been pulled down, but I tell you that story just so that you understand the role of Google. Okay, Google doesn't verify information. It simply, in this example up here, takes these 4 words and looks at the entire internet or most of the internet and finds where these 4 words are located and says, here they are, and this is your list. And in this case, it's 294,000. Okay, we're all busy now. No student has time to look through 294,000 results. Now, this first one here, we don't know why it's the first one. If you're into computer science, it could be due to something called backlinks, but we're not sure. Google won't share it. And if we scroll all the way down, there are at least 10 pages. What is the difference between a result on page 10 and a result on page 1? Not really sure. We might guess, but we're not sure. And more importantly, this information isn't verified. We're not sure if it's 100% correct. So we're not going to use Google for this assignment for the History IA. Okay, so now let's go back to where we started. Again, you will receive this document from Mr. Goldberg if you have not yet received it. We've reviewed the digital resources contained on this Google Sheet. Okay, we accessed it by clicking on this link. We went through, we looked at the ebooks by Gale and Salem. We searched our own Destiny catalog to see if we could find additional information. And then we looked at the Montgomery County Public Library, okay, and showed you how to get a card. And then we ended up at the Academic Search Complete database. So I think there's enough there for you to be successful with your research. However, if you are conducting your research and you're coming up short, please email me, okay, Mr. Hibbard, and I will work with you to see if we can locate better resources for you. It may be based on your results, may be based on the search terms that you're using. That's another video for me for another day. Okay, so I want to wish you the best of luck on your IA. Again, any questions, start with Mr. Goldberg and then come to me. And then we will work together and make sure you have a good result on this IA. Thank you.